Well, hello, beautiful artisans on YouTube. Welcome to my channel and welcome back to my channel. I tell you what, we've got a lot of snow here in Vermont today. It is freezing cold and snowy, so I am staying in. Today we're starting the village, and but first I want to give a shout out to CEFabric Videos. She creates quilts where she uses African fabrics by Cultured Expressions, and I will give both links. Now, Cultured Expressions gives classes, and they have a shop where they sell fabric and fabric kits. And CEFabric, she makes the most stunning quilts. I mean, so creative, just so beautiful. So you really want to check her out. And today, I'll tell you what, I picked out my fabric, and I'm going to share this with you. And we're going to do this whole video in parts, because I want to be able to prepare the fabrics and then just kind of place them on the base here. This is the base. This is about 16 by 26 or 24, so it's more long, and it's 100% cotton. This is 100, if you can see it, 100% cotton. So I'll be taking the tag off. This, by the way, is also a vintage piece. This is beautiful. Now, I had first thought, gee, it's really important to me that it's all cotton and I can sew through it with ease, but it's tight enough so that when I sew through it, it holds together nicely and sustains. But as I was thinking and looking at this piece, which I am still in the process of ironing, so I will be doing that off camera. But this piece, it has lemons going across here. It has bright spring colors, green, yellow, white. So my thought initially was, well, gee, what am I going to use for the background? And I'm sifting through all my fabrics thinking, well, I'm going to get some darker colors for the mountains, and some wavy designs for the water, which I might do still. However, then I thought, well, wait a minute, on this piece, because I wanted to do a 40 by 40, but I thought, well, this, I've done houses, but I haven't done a village yet. So because I'm doing a village, I figured this is a good size to start with. So, and I want the colors to be bright. Now, this is what I've come up with thus far, and I'll bring you along with me. The styles of these houses are going to be boro-inspired sashiko stitching, visible stitching by hand. Then we're going to have another house. So one house will be boro-inspired. Another house will be designed with Kiwandi layout and design. So we'll be going in the shape of the house, right? The square. And then if we have a side panel of the house, a rectangle. And if we have a triangle on the top. So we will use the Kiwandi. So it's Kiwandi inspired. And then Kantha. Now, with Kantha, they reference the finished piece as Kantha, and they also reference the stitching as Kantha. And Kantha, if you missed the last video, Kantha is where the spaces between the stitches are larger. So you're seeing the stitches and it's up and down. It's just adorable. So we will pick fabric and do a design of a Kantha house. And then in our little village, I'd like to have one of these, which is a free motion stitch, which is more of a Western. This is more of our tradition. But these other styles, so we'll be putting these houses together in this video, and I'll put the camera down and we'll begin. And so I'll do the layout and designs, and maybe I'll do a part 2 as we're stitching, or maybe I'll stitch them and just have them complete in this video. So we'll see. I'll see you in the next frame. So as I'm preparing to make this village, one of the things I wanted to do, and I'm not the greatest on planning, especially with my art. What I do with my art is pretty much impromptu. I get a vision, boom, I go and just start creating. It's a vision or a feeling or both or one or the other. It's hard to say. But I went ahead just for the heck of it, and I started to draw what I thought was a village. Like I started to draw some houses up here, and then I ended up drawing a city. I just wanted to see what that looked like. And then I drew a few more little houses down here, thinking detail on these types of uh, quilts are just absolutely adorable detail. So I've got my fabrics out, and I'm going to go through these a little bit with you uh, now, because this is what I'm thinking. So I have more or less down here vision. I want to have maybe a little fence there if I can figure out how to do that. But I want to have houses that are whimsical, cute, and maybe the style of the house is in sync a little bit with, let's say, the style we're using boro inspired, Kiwandi inspired. So whichever one, I want to be able to make the design of the house conducive, let's say, to the design of the layout, right? So anyway, with that in mind and the bright colors, um, I'm going to pick out some fabrics. So this is my go-to right here, coral. I just love this. Now, because we're using scrap fabrics, as I say so many times, as you begin your project, depending on these fabrics, it takes a life of its own on. It just does. Sometimes, many times, these fabrics or what you have on hand will determine actually the outcome of that design. In other words, maybe you can't manipulate it to the point that you want, unless you're working on something very specific, right? And you're buying certain things, and you're being very specific and focused on it. But if you're dependent on what you have in your stash, it may come out differently. So this one I'm definitely using. Look at this. This is beautiful. And I think too, I want to have like, I don't know how to do it, but I want to have like little flowers. I don't know about flowers, but flower pots. And I love flowers, so I'm going to be starting a bonsai project, and I'm contemplating if I should have a bonsai vlog, bring you along with me, because I want to do bonsai roses. So, and this plant I have here is one I'm going to begin with. So this is more of the beautiful coral. It's like an orange pink coral with a soft yellow. It's just beautiful. That definitely using that. Now this is a beautiful contrasting design, and with the triangles and whatnot. And this is cotton. So far, I've chosen all cotton. Now I'm not necessarily being biased to the cotton. If I have a blend in here that is something I want to work with, I will totally do so. This, I don't know about this. I'm going to keep it to the side because I might use that. This one I'm definitely going to use. It's a bright, bright, bright pink. So we're going to use that. I know automatically I'm going to use that. Now this is a nice wavy. This is a nice wavy design. This could be used maybe towards for water and a water effect maybe. I'm not sure yet. This is a blend, and these are polka dots. I'm not seeing this right now in the project, but we'll keep it to the side. This I'm seeing in the project. These two, these are some latest fabrics I got at the thrift shop, and I'm loving these. So these are totally in the project. This is, and this is. I just did some mug rugs actually of these fabrics, so they go together beautifully. I feel like I want to put this someplace in the project just because it's so darn cute. It's of umbrellas. And this is vintage. This is old. And you can tell because there's a couple ways you can tell. The colors are a little faded. And the weave is it's tight, but it's not like tight. I put this back to 1980s to tell you the truth, this one. And okay, and this is a newer cotton blend. That's a nice purple. That might go. This is another older piece, so I might use that. This I will use. I want all the bright colors to pop. And this I will use. That will pop. This is beautiful. I do like this. But this is not all cotton either. This has some kind of a shiny finish on it. I'm not sure what that is, to tell you the truth. So I'm not sure about that one yet. But only because I haven't sewed on this. I'm not sure. I feel like when I put the needle through this, it might make a hole. Like a hole that sustains. It doesn't close back up naturally. Because I'm not sure what the finish is on there. So I'm going to put that to the side. You might hear the snowplows out there. They had said in Vermont snow was ending at 11 o'clock, and it actually started. Now this is a piece I've used a lot. I'm not sure if I'm using it today. There's something about when you've done a design a few times, at least for me, I'm looking for a newer vibe, a different vibe. This doesn't necessarily go with that vibe, so I'm going to put that over there. I know I have it if I want it. This is bright. I like the brighter colors, but I'm not sure about these two. That's an orange and yellowish. So I'm going to put those to the side. And this is one of the latest. I don't know if you saw my TikTok I got. These are the chakra colors. These are rainbow colors. These are pride colors. This is a significant, beautiful pattern. And look, it's even wavy. So if I wanted to use this as a background, I could use it in a house. We'll see. I'm not sure how this is going to go with the others because when you look at these, I mean, maybe it might go more with this type of that may go. Yeah, so we'll see. And again, we don't really know till we lay everything out. And then I'm going to go with this type. This is nice too, and that's a nice waterfall effect there. And I definitely want to use this blue. And I think we'll stop there because we have enough to start our houses. So, that is the very next thing we're going to do. Oh, I did want to also show you these. So, I'll show you the next clip also, but however, you can use different things like this. These are birds that I made I made these way back in 1990, 91, if you can believe that. Seriously, I can't believe it. It's like 30 years ago, when I was just so mesmerized by the Vermont birds that I made pen and inks of Vermont birds. And of course, this is my favorite, and we have the great blue who visits out here. However, I was thinking, if I want to put a bird in this village, I could take this, I could draw a bird, but let's say you're not used to drawing birds. Take a picture of a bird, cut it out, and then, cut it out your paper and then cut it out against your fabric and add a bird. So you can add things to your village too. But today we'll keep this village simple. So we'll get started. Okay, so we are also getting out our stash of tiny little pieces of fabrics, because we're going to need these for the doors and the windows and the little detail. Maybe we want to use a seam as a part of a porch or a post, something like that. So I'm getting all of these out too, and to build our. Okay, so I have begun layout and design of the village. So let me put this down and show you. I have the pieces that are going to be boro, Kantha. I'm going to use this piece for Kantha because it's nice and long, and that will give us a chance to show the beautiful stitching, and Kiwandi and our crazy quilt. So I have kind of tentatively placed them in the village. And I haven't put roofs on them except for these few. I'm just kind of testing out what these roofs look like. And they're just really adorable. They're really, really cute. And some places have flat roofs even. So depending how the design is develops, some might have flat roofs. So I left the seams on some of these. I don't know. I just kind of liked the effect. I might cut them off. I'm not sure yet. Because if I cut them off, I can use them as maybe part of a porch or a post, things like that. But anyway, so these are the three we're going to work with. We're having a blank no design base. Now with boro, you can have designs. You can have, for example, you can do what they call like stacking of your fabrics and just have an isolated, beautiful stacked design in one part of your layout. So you can do that. Or you can have the whole thing be boro. So we're going to play around with that idea, maybe test a few out. And then Kiwandi, we're going to build from the outside in. And we'll do that with the triangle too, because specifically for Kiwandi, because I should probably cut a few of these out. But that way you can see how to follow right from the outside to the center. So, and then we'll do our crazy quilt. So, we're going to sit down and we're going to do those together. Okay, now for our village. Now, I started to lay out some pieces. I'm going to put this down so you can see. And I have decided on these plain-based pieces, or denim, that have no designs on them. These will be either boro, Kantha, Kiwandi, crazy quilt. Actually, this one is going to be Kantha, this one right here. And now we're going to select one to start a boro design. And I just wanted to also share with you. Now, the layout of this village thus far is I'm just kind of testing and looking at what the larger pieces in the front of the village might look like. I haven't put their roofs on except for this one, and I really like the way that looks. But I kind of wanted to just do a general layout, and I'm greatly inspired by a village in Gloucester, Massachusetts on the port. Um, there's a very particular village there that people take pictures of because the houses are all different colors, are bright pinks, yellows, oranges, and they're all overlapping. Like when you look at these houses, this cluster of this beautiful village, it's actually even on a tiered, sloping terrain. It on the port. It's just lovely. So, but anyway, I want to put a few smaller structures, you might say, and these are 10. This might change. Let's put it that way, for sure, because I'm just kind of playing around with colors. I don't have any roofs on yet. So, because what we're going to do is we're going to design, we'll do a boro, we're going to make this one over here a boro design, boro inspired, and then we'll do the layout and designs of each of our methods today, of our different cultural quilting methods. And then in part 2, tomorrow, when I have had a chance to sew everything down, then we'll have a part 2. So right now for part 1, we're going to take this piece out, and we're going to give it a boro design. And we also want to figure out what we want for the roof. So now with boro, the difference between the boro and the Kiwandi, for example, is with the Kiwandi, right, you follow your pattern all the way around till it closes in. The whole base is covered. With boro, we don't need to cover the whole base if we don't want to. Now, in this case, we are going to. However, for other designs here, I most likely am going to do what they call some sporadic, or what I call, I don't know if anyone else calls it, but I call it sporadic boro stacking, inspired by an actual boro method of stacking the pieces. But I call it sporadic, that's my word, because the pieces, the designs stand independently. And I'm sure there's a word for that. I'll have to do more research and find out what that is. But so we'll begin this boro, and this will be, we're going to cut this into a roof. I'm going to put this down so you can see kind of my thought on that, on how I do that. And let's just actually move this whole piece out of the way. I have fabric literally all around me right now, and I haven't pinned anything down, so I want to be careful in moving this, and we'll just slide it over there for now. So, what I'm going to do, I like to eye things. I just do that by nature. So I do see the width of this is very good. It's actually a little 1/8 of an inch on this side, almost an 1/8 of an inch on that side. So we have enough room to give it a nice roof. I don't know if this pen's going to work. And look right here. We have a line straight down here. We have lines here. So see, we can use those. Actually, let's move that up a bit. And we're actually going to use these lines, as a grid. So Look at that. How nice is that? And I mean, it doesn't get better than that. And I'm going to leave the little flat top because I think that's super duper cute. So we're going to cut that out. Now this is not a huge roof, but that's okay. We can still add pieces to create a boro design. And the thing of it is, we have tiny little pieces. It might be a tiny little piece, or maybe what we do is do a few pieces, and then we do and let our sashiko stitching be the dominant design for the roof. Because when you overstitch, you can overstitch sashiko stitching. Now let's see if that looks all right. I think what I'm going to do is just because that roof doesn't look good on there. It looks a little small. It looks a little smaller. So maybe we use the same method, but we make it just a little bigger. And we're going to keep this roof because we can totally use that. So I'm going to cut just straight up here to the center line, using that as my guide. And I'm going to cut straight down there. And hopefully this will give us, oh, look at this actually. I'm going to test something out before I even cut that piece. This is how creativity is. You're making one thing and another thing comes out. I think that's adorable as a house. That's a good base right there as a house. And just that piece. But if we cut that and we use that as our roof, I think it's going to work. But that's that would make a really cute house also. But now we have this piece and we can piece these together, and we actually have another house that we can use. So I'm totally going to keep that to the side. But let's see. Yeah, this will work. This will work just fine. Even if we weren't doing boro here, we could still use these two pieces. So, but we're going to do our boro designing now. And I have so many tiny pieces of fabric. I'm going to bring them over here. I'm going to keep them away from all the fabric we have here. Now, because these are a little bit smaller, maybe some of these pieces we cut down a little bit. Let's just see here what we've got. This is adorable right there. I mean, I don't even need to keep that to the side. That's just beautiful. Look how that pops already. So these pieces are smaller, and I went through a lot of these earlier just to make sure that we had enough. So I'm going to kind of put this pile right here. And you can see I just have fabric all over the place. And just imagine all this fabric, right, in landfills. Now, as you apply the boro method, you're thinking, well, you're going to hand stitch it. I am going to hand stitch these pieces. However, you can machine stitch. You can, because this is boro inspired, right? You can use the boro method of stacking and then go ahead and use your fabric glue depending on what your project is, because everybody has something different that they're making for different reasons. Okay, now in the boro pieces, I want to give a door, maybe windows, but I'm gonna just go ahead and first do my designs, because I just want to see how this shakes down, because I haven't gone ahead and made a house, gone ahead to do this. I have made houses and Sashiko stitched them and used fabric to create them, but I haven't gone in to do the boro design and then come back around and put the door and the windows in. So I like that. I only have this piece of fabric left here of that dragonfly. So let's see here. We're just going to go ahead and do our boro design. Now with boro, remember you can go across. If you want, you can go down. You want these to overlap though. I'm not, and this is kind of why I went like that, because I want to make sure it overlaps enough when I sew, it's not pulling out and showing the base. So that's why I did that. I think I'm going to actually go ahead and use this. Like that. I like that better. Okay. And I have these strips I can come back to if I want to use those. So I have all different fabrics here from so many different projects. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that. That's good. I feel better about this. And some nice yellow here. Now this piece, some of these pieces, I feel I want to cut them down a tiny bit, because the piece that we're doing the boro on, the house, is not necessarily huge. And here, what I'm going to do is put these pieces here, and then I'm going to trim around the outside of the house, the roof after, for some of it. If I can make these pieces flush, look at that's almost a Kiwandi. Maybe we use a Kiwandi method on this one. So if we did that, so we're gonna let's make the house boro. This is boro building, and we're gonna go ahead and make the top of the house, the roof, a Kiwandi. Okay, so in doing that with the Kiwandi, what we're going to do is go straight. We're going to stay on the edges, and we're going to start on the outside, and then all we're simply going to do is follow the pattern to the inside of the triangle. So I'm going to try to keep this flush. Let's see. So that would be like this. The reason I'm jumping back and forth a little bit is because I'm looking for pieces of fabric to fit. Now I thought I had way more tiny. I do have some tiny pieces. Here's another tiny piece. This would go very nicely over here for the roof. And this is okay in Kiwandi. These pieces do not need to match. As a matter of fact, this is very unusual that it would match this much, right? Because the next piece, let's see, could be like this. I'm just trying to get this tail off here. Could be like this. Okay. Well, that works out good, actually. And next one could be a square. Okay. So they can be different shapes all the way. The key is you're focusing your attention on the outside in. Okay, so that's our Kiwandi. This we're going to save for a crazy quilt right there. We could work on all 5 of these quilts at the same time, all 5 methods, but I don't want to confuse you. That's why I'm doing the video, is to help distinguish and show you the differences here, almost side by side. But okay, so boro, I'm coming back over here. This piece I'm going to put like that. And it's a nice plaid. I love plaid with the floral. It just makes it pop. This is cutesy. Now, I have noticed with boro, if I have a dominant color in there and I repeat it, it really does add to the effect of whatever it is that you're trying to do. You know, let's say you're trying to have it be a dominant purple or green, like this green. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not crazy about this green. However, there's something about that green that if I repeat that down here, it's really going to work. And the thing of it is, I don't think I have another green like that. So I do have this pattern up here. And so I would like to at least repeat that, because that's beautiful. And this is not part of a boro method. The boro method is just selecting and using your scrap, what you have on hand. That's my little improvisation, you might say, of being inspired by boro. So now there's more green here. I'm keeping this plaid because I just want to see if that's going to work as a door. So, okay, now I'm going to jump back over here to the roof, and let's see. For the roof, I'm looking. Well, actually, this would be interesting. That's a piece that would match this color right here that's in the house, and that we kind of repeated. So putting this in the roof might actually just work really well. So I'm going to, now notice when I'm doing this, I have my corner right here. So with my Kiwandi method, you know, I want to fill my spaces. So as I'm going along, I'm putting that, oh look, it happens to actually, wow, I didn't think it was going to reach. Okay, perfect. If it did not reach, okay, and it was leaving like that little space. So what you would do is just take another piece and you would overlap it. You would overlap it for your second row, but remember you're working on your next row. But this one actually completes the first row unusually nicely. So that's very good. And I'm looking for smaller pieces because of the size of this roof. So let's see. Okay, I have this piece. I need to cut it down a little bit because of our space. So I'm working on my second row. I'm overlapping. These are the commonalities. As in boro, Kiwandi, you do overlap your fabrics when you are building. You're building the whole piece, you want to overlap. Now, if you're doing independent designs, of course, that's not necessary. Excuse me. Now, as with boro, I'm only cutting this off because it's about to fall off, but you don't need to cut these fabrics in any type of perfect shape. You can put them in whatever shape they are, in Kiwandi as in boro, because the concept is using up scrap. And when you see me clipping a little bit this and that, it's because I'm manipulating it a little bit. But if I was very, very impoverished in the middle of the 1700s and freezing, I would take every bit of piece and I'd probably even fold it and put it on there. And maybe I start to do things like that with this even. So, and that's, you know, because they're using up all their scraps. That's to make a blanket, to make a coat, whatever it is that they were doing. So here's another boro. I'm jumping back over to boro and making sure everything's overlapped. Very nice. I'm almost done with my bottom part of the house of boro. Now here on the roof, I focus on pieces. So that's a leaf shape. I could put that in there, and I mean I could, but it's quite large for the piece. And I have so many small pieces that I can work with. Oh, here's another one of the green that I liked. So I'm going to put that green. I mean, I'm not crazy about the green. Now, see, with the boro, if I want to, I can put under or over. Okay? I could put under these pieces, or I could put the next piece over. Okay? So I am going to elect really to put, because I like that purple out like that. I like those colors a lot. There's something about purple and green. You know, we've seen it. We've seen it commercially. We've seen it as a classic coupled design. I mean, it's just something, it just really pops. Okay, so that's good right there. That's kind of not, yeah, I guess it is covering it, but it's a little bit in question. So when I sew, I'm going to really watch the sides there. So now on our boro piece, we can add one more piece over here. So the house is done. Now the roof, this is interesting. I gotta tell you, I've never done this before. Doing a boro built inspired bottom part of the house and then the roof for the top part. I've never done that before. So I find that extremely fascinating. I just love it. I love the way it's looking too. So, okay, now we've got this piece to continue our Kiwandi. We are on our second row coming down here, and you're going to see that this gets tighter and tighter. Now, in Kiwandi, as you get to the center of a quilt, for example, it will kind of have like gathered fabric there, and that's perfectly normal. That's that's the way it goes. That's expected. Now here's a big red piece. I'm going to put that right here. And now I just have that center piece, and that's actually a third row. But look, it's leaving, I don't know if you can see this, but it's leaving the base here and here. So for that piece, let's see here, trying to find a different color. Okay, I got blue over here. There's blue there, which it doesn't really matter. But I kind of want to be able to have you see how this oh, here's a good piece. Okay, so this piece is a little long, but I could use that, and it's okay that it was overlapping the first and second row. So I am going to put this there, and then I have this piece. So keeping in mind this is my third row, you just kind of stay in your sequence as much as possible, even though it doesn't seem that way. It truly is that way. So that's really cutesy. So that's done. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift this up with its roof. I just kind of want to see how that looks. And let's just take a look at that. Now, that's adorable. I'm going to turn this around so you can see. Okay. I just love this. The reason these go quickly, these go much quicker as if I was trying to design independently, like no method. It's because we're borrowing a method. We are using a very specific, cultural, appropriate, beautiful, well used. I'm going to pull this down here. Used for centuries and centuries and centuries. A method that has worked. So you want to trim that. I kind of want to trim that. Or I guess what I could do is just pull it down for the moment. I don't know why that's not. Okay, there we go. Okay. Now with these Kiwandi pieces, you can see the difference. Now, if we went a little bit smaller with these pieces, it might be a little bit more defined. However, you will see Kiwandi with all different shapes. Now, you may see some where we started off where this is, what shall I say, the pieces are pretty well matched in size. And then you're going, let's see if I can do this, you're kind of going straight, like you keep picking pieces that match, so you're going straight around. You know, look, we could have done it like this. I just want to show you this because this is the beauty of the Kiwandi, is that it's not like right now. See, I'm manipulating that, and let's see if I can find more here for the heck of it. So let's say this roof, we pretty much stayed. And we were trying to work on a pattern more. And there was no overlapping. Let's say that was pretty well measured. You could do that. You can certainly do that in Kiwandi. But if you do that, you do see the pattern better. And I've done that. I have focused. But see, the more you do, the more you practice the method, the more comfortable you get in understanding using the getting closer to the authentic method of using scraps to create. And then that's when you kind of let go a little bit and you're like, okay, they don't have to be this perfect line here. So let's see if we can finish that for you. So you can see. And then here you have a triangle there. And now I could put a perfect triangle there, or I could get smaller little pieces like that, teeny tiny little pieces, and just stay with my Kiwandi. Going around. See now, and then I only have that teeny tiny little, that would be considered, right, your center, your last row. So here you can see it a little bit better. Maybe we do this roof again, and maybe I do it again, but I kind of like it like that. It's a little funky. It's in it, and it is Kiwandi. So anyway, we will put this to the side for the moment. So we have actually, so we did Boro and Kiwandi there. If you like, we can build another Kiwandi, and I'm going to bring these back over here. So this would be a good base. Oh, you know what we didn't do for that house? And I have a feeling on some of these I'm going to be spending just a little bit more time on design. However, for the sake of bringing you along with me, I really wanted to do this. This I really like. Now, how might I, if I wanted to, put a door and windows in here? So I'm just going to test this out for a minute. I want something that had the plaid. Yeah, I had this plaid. So I just want to see. See, what's going to happen is blends in, right? Because we have so many different decor, pieces of decor in there. We could take a piece that is a solid color, and that might stand out a little more, like this. That might work. And then we have our two windows. So, because this might be a little bit clear. See? Yeah, that's really cute. And let's say these are two windows, and the windows would even look like, they become part of the design. However, as you look at it, you can see the windows. Now, the other thing we could do is just not even add these. So I'll know by the time this is sewn up what is going to feel right about that. So we're going to put that to the side. And now we're going to do we'll do the crazy, this is going to be a crazy quilt. We're going to do a crazy quilt because we have so many of these right now. And so, and the crazy quilt also these can be spread out with lots of space between them, which I didn't know, or they can be overlapping. So, I think what I'd like to do is kind of overlap them and do it that way. So this little house in the village is going to be a crazy quilt house. And with crazy quilt, it's just like it's zero waste. So I'm not cutting any pieces. I'm just using, if it fits on there, I'm just going to use it. I'm going to look at this piece. I'm just going to place it together on here. Whoops, I got something else there. We're just going to place it on there. And if we have any gaps in our base, then we'll just go ahead and fill those with another piece of fabric. And look at all the shapes we have here. So you can see the difference already between, I'm going to keep your boro house here. You can see the difference already. You see your boro house building your scraps of your squares, your triangles, your long pieces, whatever they are, and you're stacking them about 1/8 of an inch, this and that. Crazy quilt. We're not talking squares and rectangles. We're like scrap pieces. Now here's another orange piece. And look at this piece. This is a scrap. I could put it like that if I want. I can put these all different ways. All different directions, because the reason they go all different directions is I'm trying to make them fit. So it's like I want them to be a part of this piece. So let's see here. I've got more over here. And if I do end up with some squares and rectangles, that's okay. But see, the beauty of the crazy quilting is all these ridiculous shapes, right? Because you've cut out, maybe you cut out hearts. I know that's what a lot of these are. I cut out hearts. I cut out dragonflies, flowers, bunnies. I cut out all of these things. So now I'm trying to use my scraps up. So this is a bigger piece. I'm just, whoops, it's upside down. Here we go. So this I can just even do like that. And then because I'm looking for strips here to fill that gap, and that gap, I can look for smaller pieces now. Here's a triangle. And these can overlap. I mean, because the whole concept of it is to use your scraps. So if you have a piece and you're like, oh great, I just covered that up. I mean, you can take it out and redo it, or you can leave it because it adds to the quilt. And you want to use it, so you can leave it. Now look how fast this went, because our method was filling in our spaces, kind of fitting these together like a little puzzle piece, and just focusing on these scraps that have been cut. So that's another style of a house. That's our crazy quilt house. And you can see the difference. And so next up is going to be Kantha. And so I'm going to get that together for you. We'll sew that together. Right. Okay, so for the Kantha, we are using this because I wanted to show you the stitching, and I wanted to show you kind of what you can do with Kantha. Kantha typically is used to make quilts, and the quilt is referenced as a Kantha piece. So the finished piece is referenced as Kantha, as is the stitching. And in India, what they do is take saris or sheets even, and layer them, and then use this stitch to adhere them, to bring them together. So I am using the Kantha stitch here to bring these pieces together, and because this will be part of our village, this will be the bottom part of the village. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm starting at the bottom, and I'm going to put this down so you can see, hopefully. And I'm going to take that pin off. Now, if you start off with pieces that are have some kind of a pattern to them, like plaid or something like that, it might be easier for you. So I'm just going to eye it. Now this stitch is going to be smaller, and then I'm going to make a larger space underneath. I'm just going to show you. These are typically done in runs. So that's the first stitch, and then you have a large space there. So I'm going to try to do a few runs here, and keeping a space, and then bringing the needle. I'm bringing the needle back down, so I make a small stitch. And this is not a sashiko needle, so for me this is a little difficult, but we're going to pull it through. And this is the type of stitch that goes pretty quickly because of the spacing. It's because of the spacing. And you see we're halfway up the strip already. I'm going to pull that pin out. But typically they hold, what they do actually, if you've seen any of the Kantha quilts made, they are actually on the floor working that way. So the smaller pieces might be held in hand like I'm doing. So, whoops. And these stitches, once you pick a size, if you want it to be a really tiny stitch, so it certainly can be, or you can make it longer, but if you want it to present as a Kantha stitch, then you just double up your space in between. So that's one row. And you can see here I went a little bit longer on that one, but it's very easy to do. Basically, if you keep your concentration, just make sure those spaces, and just kind of eyeing your Kantha, your size of your stitch. So so that one is done. And I'll show you the back here. And keep a little bit length to your thread on the back, because if it's too short on the back, that could come undone. But see the back, see how long those stitches are in the back? Those are your spaces. So that's how I will continue with this one. That is Kantha. And so we're going to have part 2 to this, where you will see these sewn, and then we will be looking closer and designing the quilt a little closer with the village. And so I will be working on that off the camera, because that will take a while. And but I'll be back tomorrow, Saturday, with part 2 with those sewn up. So you have a wonderful evening, and if you have any questions, please let me know.